In January 2019, I uploaded an episode of a C63 AMG 507 edition. 6 years later, said episode has now got 837,000 odd views. One of which, or 24 of those views, was by this gentleman, the new owner of this vehicle, Tom. Tom has recently purchased the car, acquired the car, won the car on a car auction bidding platform collecting cars. It's a very much cherished example. Low mileage, just 9,000 miles on the clock. Haven't been so impressed with the transformation, the work on the 507. As soon as Tom purchased the car, it was booked straight in for the same package, a white detail. Full major paint correction, chasing paint perfection where safe and possible to do so via multi-stage machine polishing. Front end PPF, which I wasn't offering PPF, paint protection film, back in 2019. Wheel refurbishments, the hubs have been painted, the discs, full interior to follow, engine bay treatments to follow. I forget how much work the white detail involves, but we're getting there. It's gonna be a long episode, I can sense it already. So get yourself comfortable, enjoy, grab a drink, put your feet up. That and a whole lot more in this episode of White Details. So as a new car to their collection and the owner's 12th AMG they've owned, they were keen to get the car booked in for the foundation work, the white detail, to strip it back to get it as good as possible, with protection in the form of Modesta ceramic coatings for the exterior and interior, as well as Suntech paint protection film. As you can see, the wheels are suffering from some light curbing, as well as some corrosion on the diamond cut edges. These will be sent away later in the episode for a refurbishment. Kicking things off then, before we get into the wet work, I'm actually removing the wheels to prep the hubs. I'm going to be painting the centres a little later. The rust, the surface corrosion, the orange, it's unsightly behind the wheels. So with the combination of brake cleaners, Scotch Brite pads and wire brushes, I was surprised actually how nicely they came up just from the cleaning and the prep ahead of being painted in a bit. Whilst not terrible, the brake calipers were suffering from a bit of fallout, some brake dust build-up, which the standard degreaser used in the arches hadn't been able to shift. Built Hamber's auto wheel applied and left to soak before agitating. And then it's a case of rinse and repeat. The near side wheels put back on, offside, off the ground, starting all over again. Moving on to the door shuts, not too bad. General dirt build up, the car's mostly stored. It's a 2013 vehicle with only 9,800 miles on the clock. It's garaged, part of a collection. Surfex HD, a multi-purpose cleaner and degreaser used in the shuts before agitating and rinsing. And then I'll be honest, other than the snow foam pre-rinse stage, there wasn't a great deal of footage captured for the rest of the wet work. I was getting battered by the wind, it was wet, the batteries were dying, and I was ready to be inside. The contact wash was carried out in the usual way, as well as the tar removal process with chemical tar remover, before we're up onto the ramp ready for the clay bar treatment, which is the final mechanical part of the decontamination process. Right, well, it's nearing mid-afternoon already. It's 25 to 3. On the ramp now, clay bar decontamination process complete. Very few tar deposits found. It's a pretty clean car. Not yet done anything to the wheels. They are heading for refurbishment early into next week. Today is Friday. Nice improvements made to the hubs, just with the wire brush and the prep. Cleaning them, prepping them ahead of having a lick of paint in the next 48 hours or so. Just sent a little WhatsApp video, a 5-6 minute WhatsApp video to the owner showing my initial early findings on the car. And over the next 48 hours or so, my priority are these 3 panels and the side skirts and the mirrors. Basically the areas that are going to be PPF'd: bonnet, bumper, lights, wings, side skirts. A couple of marks found, located, scratched there. There's a nice long scratch on the side skirt that runs the majority. I do already have obsidian black paint touch up, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as well as on the edge of the doors, common areas. They're going to benefit from being touched over, as well as areas like so. PPF is going to be wrapped in and around the lip of the arch there, but this stuff wants to be disguised. Similar story across the bonnet. 1, 2, 3 series of marks here. One on the very leading edge here. Some of these will require a bit more prep than others. Let's say this you can get away with just applying the smallest amount, but an area like this and a size like that, it's going to be better to touch it, sand it, polish it so it's flat. Located some overspray on the front bumper, as well as some abrasions and chafe marks there on the corner. Some it's taken the edge off that, constant abrasion. And then here inside, that's been caught a few times. Finger polishing required down there. Overspray is in the bottom channel. You see the cloudy section that runs across there. So something somewhere has been painted, holograms, scratches, chip. Near side wing is pretty good, I think. Similar chipping present on the corners there though. 1, 2, 3. These sort of things will come on to next week when I focus on the rest of the bodywork. Tidy up around the letters. Get that smartened up before the film goes down. There's a scuff under here. I hope the owner knew about this, and that's a good one. That's more than likely a ramp, probably a 2-post ramp or something that's swung under there. Caught that right in line with the jacking point at the front near side. As well as polishing the main bulk of the panels with 3-inch and 5-inch and 1-inch pads. Ahead of PPF, it's actually getting in these areas, the hard to reach, often forgotten about sections. Scratch. Getting in there in between the wing and the side skirt, just so that all that is pure and clean and fresh. Similar back here, look. Just wants a bit of a hand polish in there. I think I won't bore you with too much more for now. The rest of this we'll come back to. Apart from these 2 scratches, there's some nice ones found here, offside rear corner. We'll come back to the rest of the car as it happens. But for now, for me, for the rest of the day, it's going to be getting geared up with the polishing at the front end, paint touch up, colour code 197, obsidian black, and see where we stand at the end of the day. The time is now 20 to 3. As with the panel gaps above the side skirts we saw a little bit earlier on with the dirt, hard to reach areas. Ahead of installing PPF for these areas, it's critical that you get them cleaned and flushed. On the front bumper, underneath the trim, around the vents and the grills, stubborn build-up of dirt has accumulated over the years. And it's not necessarily areas that are going to be machine polished successfully. So a fair bit of time was spent hand polishing before doing the machine polishing, just to make sure it's all true and tight, and that A, the PPF looks as best it can, but also B, can adhere to the paint. The adhesive has the best fighting chance. It's getting late in the day now, but before I head out, I wanted to get the discs painted to give them time to dry overnight. Because first thing in the morning the vehicle is going to be back outside and rinsed to eliminate any polishing dust ahead of PPF. Surrounding areas were taped up and masked up accordingly, and then multiple light coats of Technogrip satin silver were applied to give a nice even finish. The major touch-ups to the front end were knocked back with 2000 grit paper and polished. Wheels are back on, the car's back outside for a final rinse down to eliminate the dusting, ahead of getting stuck into the paint protection film. Before getting myself too committed with installing the film, I took the opportunity to run the wheels to my guys at PB Powder Coatings in Gainsborough. Corrosion, worming on the diamond cut lip, as well as a little curbing in places. The The wheels were dipped and stripped and prepped and powder coated and diamond cut and satin lacquered. And you'll see more of these later in the episode before we hit them with Modesta BZ06. It's safe. So I'm just documenting the whole process. Wheels. What is it? AMG C63. Professional. So PPF, paint protection film, it's a physical membrane to help protect against future impacts, stone chips, road rash, abrasions and scratches. Some edits made to the front wings on the software to allow them to be wrapped into the door shut at the back of the panel, as well as extending the arches so that I can get a trim tight to the edge so it's full coverage on the lip of the arch. The gloss black door pillars, the B pillars are covered as well, albeit a bulk installation because there's no templates available. And speaking of templates, as you can see on the side skirts, the coverage should have been better. There's a good 2 inches of exposed paint at the bottom. The template's nowhere near big enough. Whilst I'm using Suntech PPF, the product and the software, the templates in this case, they're actually a different manufacturer. Because of the age of the car, Suntech don't have patterns available for this model. So a bit of a nuisance, they've got to come off, it's wasted time, it's wasted material. Perhaps something I should have maybe measured. They could have been better, and actually they should have been better, so they're in the bin. With that said, it's allowed me to do a manual, a bulk installation, ensuring there's enough material at the top to wrap into the door shut and under both the front and rear quarters. But also the issue we had at the bottom, now we're going to go right to the very edge and get a full total coverage. And then whilst I was down at the side skirt, some rough templates were created for the end caps of the side skirt, the leading edge, the back edge, the area that collects most of the road rash and the grit from the wheels. Transferred onto some spare PPF, trimmed out. As you can see, it's not perfect, but it's certainly going to do its job going forward. Visually, it's very much enhanced as well because essentially it's a whole new varnish over the otherwise weathered surface. With the bonnet now down, the front bumper, lower middle portion of the bumper had to be templated. That was missing from the database as well. The wind mirrors are done. The last area to cover, I would like to get the side skirts, the inner door sills protected. As you can see, it's pretty hazy in here. There's lots of holograms, rotary holograms from previous polishing, with a random deep scratch which is going to need knocking back a little bit. Not sure if it will be fully removed. You can feel this with a fingertip. But the driver's side particularly bad. Lots of abrasions from years of in and out of the car, which is going to be improved with some polishing. Ahead of installing the film, which will only help to aid disguise any remaining marks and of course offer protection for future impacts. The orange light cutting pads have been changed out now for the blue heavy cut. It's about to get serious. I would say all the PPF has been great success on the entire job so far. Nicely refreshed hubs there. The wheels are now with my guys at Refurbishing. It now leaves me with the mammoth task of doing a major paint correction. So as part of the white detail, chasing paint perfection where safe and possible to do so. It entails cutting the paint, checking the paint, assessing it, wiping it down, localizing any remaining marks, cutting the paint, checking it, wiping it down, assessing the paint, localizing any remaining marks, rinse and repeat, whilst monitoring paint thickness readings. Obviously there's only so deep you can go before you start compromising clear coat, which we don't want to do. And the severity of the defects may prevent that from happening in the first place. But other than perhaps the ones in the offside corner of the bumper, they're quite bad. But otherwise I haven't really seen too much that's going to be of too much concern. So 2 or 3 days of polishing ahead, and then it's finishing off the engine bay, interior coatings, that sort of stuff. I've just got the fuel filler cap, the petrol filler cap PPF'd because that's a high contact area going forward. I don't think the car's going to be getting a great deal of use, let's be honest. It's only done 9,000 miles and it's a 2013 car. One cutting pass later, the 5" you saw the bulk of the 5" do in the centre, 3" on the perimeter. It's looking nice, but there are marks remaining. See here underneath the light there. In the middle here, there's a bit going on. Side of the door, yeah. So the idea is I'm just going to redo that same procedure, same combination of 5-inch, 3-inch, 5-inch, 3-inch, and then it's going to be a case of rounding off any remaining marks before we move on to the adjacent areas and continue. Another cut later, these are now the remaining marks I want to chase out. Minimal, but there's still room for improvement here. All gets a bit silly, really. Nice, mate. Are they okay?
Yeah, just that. The worst one being involved in quite a bit. Probably had about 8 inches of old on it.
Really?
Yeah, well that big.
Oh, the damaged bit.
Yeah.
I can see how to build the material up.
Yeah.
I lose track of where we're at in terms of the video and the storyboard and the time taken, but that is now the paint correction, that is the cutting complete. I have removed the heavy cut microfiber pad system to be replaced with light polishing foam pads. The roof rails up here, they have actually come up better than I thought they might do. A bit of weathering up on there. A-pillar over the top, that's all now cut, ready to be refined. This rear wing, you can see it's a little bit cloudy in places. That's from the cutting. That's going to be improved with the refining process. But before I go into the refining, I'm going to address the engine bay because that's quite a messy procedure. You're going to get splatter and bits on the adjacent panels, which wants to be done before the refining so that the refining process tidies those areas up and it's then all done as one. And I've heard back from the owner with regards to this last piece of PPF, whether the owner wanted this installing. This is a luggage strip that I found on the database which can go here. Now there was a bad scratch if you remember, and you can just about see it still remains, but actually it's very difficult to see now. That has had a lot of work, it's been chased, but I feel like the PPF over the top of this, that's going to actually disguise that further, which is a good thing. So I'm going to dust that area down, go onto the engine bay, go onto the refining, and then we think about the wheels. The wheels are back. What a fabulous job my guys have done. We'll take a look at them later. Rather than doing the 50-50 just then, I could have actually just used the two adjacent panels. So door refined, quarter, knot, door sharp, quarter, knot, quarter, hazy, micromod, haven't been neat IPA'd alcohol to strip any remaining residue. Part of the white detail package is I'm looking for areas outside of the original sort of scope, of the original spec, areas to improve. And the owner did sort of give me like a bit of a free rein to say if you think he needs it, do it. What about these? Little bump stops, little protective pad that sits as this pulls down. That's a bit of maybe original factory piece. How about we measure the diameter, remove this for a start, clean this up, measure that, print off some 20mm circles in PPF. Nice little addition. Because otherwise, where we're at 25 past 5 on Thursday, the paint has now been refined. Super sharp, super glossy. Ooh. Basically, final stages, piecing together now. Let's go take a look at the wheels. A diamond cut lip with a satin fascia and satin lacquer over the top. I've got the centre caps in my car still. That's a nice touch using the black wheel weights. Clean these up, get these coated, as well as the calipers tomorrow, and then BCO4 for the bodywork. And LPS leather for the insides. That's BCO4 down for the paint, infrared curing process now underway. Wheels BCO6, infrared cured. Moving on to the interior now. Whilst it's booked in for the white detail, which is a kind of a no stone left unturned package with interior detailing, I did express to the owner at the time that there's not really much of a transformation here. It's very low mileage, it's very clean. The rear seats perhaps never even sat in. It might just be flushing the cracks and the crevices and getting the airline down the sides, just wiping the console, cleaning the leather, treating the leather with LPS, mid-ester LPS, glass inside and out of course, giving the carpets and the overmats a bit of a rub and a scrub, a rub-a-dub-dub. Even the steering wheel's not that shiny, to be honest. That might come up a bit better, but that's about as dirty as it gets. Look at that. That was probably me as well. Get these polished up, some smearing. Obsidian Black Mercedes, 2013. So what's that? 12 years old. With 9,800 miles on the clock. Now complete. It looks fantastic. I'm shattered. This is the 4th episode, I think, the 4th job in a row I've documented. The vehicle has received a multi-stage major paint correction, chasing 95% defect removal plus, where safe and possible to do so. The full suite of Modesta coatings, Suntec PPF, the extended front end, including the side skirts. An interior once over, an engine bay detail, the wheels have been refurbished, and the hubs were painted. Seems like a long time ago now. In the next 20 minutes, I have a Golf GTI Club Sport being dropped off. That is going to be next week's extended PPF installation as well. Unlike the Mercedes, the Golf is the perfect opportunity to get PPF down. Obviously, going forward, the Merc is now protected, but it's already had 12 years of exposed driving for damage to be picked up and accumulated. So the VW is on the way from Volkswagen, having been handed over this morning. Perfect scenario, you'll see that at the end of the episode, I'm sure. And then the Merc, it's here until Wednesday. Now actually the owner isn't picking the car up until Wednesday. Today is Saturday morning. I say picking the car up, I believe they're coming here to see it, and then it's being transported in an enclosed trailer, a covered transporter. Ugh. Gosh. Cars in this condition really make me want a toy myself, to be able to put something away, cherish, make perfect and enjoy. I believe this is their 12th AMG over the years. Big Mercedes fan. Who's that? Oh, invoice from PB Power Coatings. Who's that? Oh, it's my pressure washing man. I'm having the block paving sorted. I'm starting on Monday. If you let me know which day is best, I'll get you booked in. Super. Thank you, Robert. Probably not Monday because I'll be outside myself with the pressure washer doing the car, the Golf. That's exciting. In fact, that's good timing because there are some nice, exciting projects in March, which I will ought to pick the camera up for, which may be coming out in April sometime. So stay tuned for that as it happens. It's actually bright and sunny for a change outside. So we have some exciting after footage out there to look forward to. Plus, hopefully, the owner's reaction at the end of the episode. So just leaves me to say thank you so much for making it through this far. If you have, if you're still here, if you've not already, give the video a tap, give it a thumbs up, give it a like to help the video to reach more people. Will this episode reach 867,000 people like the first episode of the 507 AMG back 6 years ago? That'll be nice. Hopefully, I can buy myself a toy then. Consider hitting subscribe. Stay tuned as updates happen. Follow WhiteDetails over on Instagram for the daily behind the scenes updates. And I think that's about it. You can tell the energy is low. The kettle is going on for a coffee, and it's actually my birthday weekend, so I've got a nice chilled weekend with loved ones. Back in action Monday on the GTI. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.
Wow. Thank you. This looks fantastic.
Thank you all, fantastic. The edit is nearly complete as well, so you've got a full 60-minute episode to look forward to.
Unreal. Wheels look good, by the way.
Don't they?
Getting someone to do two-tone rims is a bit of a pain because a lot of them don't want to do it, but they look fantastic.
And the hubs make sense to have that all fresh behind
Yeah.
it as well.
No, look, this is, I love it. It's exactly what
Super.
I expected, I suppose, because I looked at all the other bits and bobs. amazing. Thank you.
No problem. That's
Really,
very
really.
kind. Thank you. I shall.
Hi there.
Hi mate, sorry to disturb you.
That's all right.